Okay guys, this is it. In this motivation reset, we have covered how to understand what's holding back your motivation. We've covered how to identify your deeper motivations. We've covered how to figure out how you're motivated, whether internal or external. We've covered how to try to sustain that motivation going forward by understanding how to take those deeper whys and keep them front of mind. And now in this last day of our motivation reset, we are going to truly cover how to sustain that motivation going forward. Because at the end of the day, what we're really trying to build here is momentum and try to keep that momentum going forward. And how do you build momentum? By having a plan, and a plan that is reasonable for you to execute, that builds in challengingness so you can keep going through the days, the months, and honestly even the years, and continue to move forward towards your goals and set new goals into the future. That, at the end of the day, is how you will succeed. You need a plan, and you need a plan that's tailored to you, that includes your motivators, your life circumstances, and your personality, and what's going to keep you moving towards those goals going forward. So get out those worksheets. Let's dive in here and refresh yourself quickly. Take a second to pause about those things that are holding you back, about those deeper motivators. Look at the beginning of that worksheet. Keep those things in mind, and then move forward and hit play when you're ready to continue to progress through this video. Again, now that you've reviewed that challenge list, look back and see what is the biggest challenge holding you back right now. On that list, what do you think is the biggest thing holding you back right now? And once you've done that, look at that same list again and think, what am I most comfortable addressing right now? What am I ready to address right now on that list? If those two things align up, your biggest challenge and what you're most ready to face, awesome. That is the one thing that we are going to focus on right here, right now, to create a plan around. And if those two things don't align, then that's okay. Maybe we can build up to working on that greater challenge of yours. But for now, let's focus on what you feel most ready to tackle. And of course, as we go through this, keep in mind whether you're an internally or externally motivated person as well. Here's that list again we showed earlier of the difference between internal and external motivations. So what we're going to do, I will use an example of something that I feel like is a common challenge, and we're going to use that challenge initially to determine what we're going to focus on. And then we're going to use how we're motivated to determine how we're going to focus on that challenge. And we're going to get into a couple different ways that I like to set goals. As you know, I am a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. So what I do with basically every single person that I work with on a formal basis is set something called SMART goals and use a scale called the Ready, Willing, and Able scale. Now, SMART goals is an acronym, and essentially SMART, if you haven't done this before, stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So the goal we're going to set is not just any old average goal. It's actually got a full plan incorporated for how you're going to be able to reach that specific goal. And we're going to focus on setting a behavioral-based goal. Another common mistake that a lot of people do when they're setting goals to work on is they focus on an outcome-based goal. So an outcome would be what you want to happen. So let's say you want to lose 10 pounds, 50 pounds, right? Whatever that number is, that's an outcome. That's what you want to happen. So instead, let's focus on the behavior that will get you to reach that goal. And that's going to be related to that challenge that you determined was holding you back that we're going to want to focus on now. So we're going to set a goal related to behaviors associated with that challenge, because by figuring out the things we're going to do to reach that goal, naturally in the long run, we'll get to that outcome anyway. Does that make sense? Remember, we want a reasonable plan that we can actually do and actually start accomplishing today. Because remember, we talked about this, a lot of times we try to go for something a little too challenging, and then that kind of kills our momentum, right? So let's start with something simple, and we'll get into that in a second. So turn your eyes back to the worksheet. We are going to go through this step by step now, and I will use an example as well to make it easier. Let's say what's holding me back from reaching my goals right now is I'm too busy, and also that I'm an internally motivated person. Okay, so let's dig deep into that challenge for a second. Why am I too busy? Think about that for a second. So in this example, let's say that your kids take up so much time that you can't find time to go to the gym and exercise. That's a very common one I hear. And related to that too, it's hard to cook healthy for so many people in the house who have so many different tastes and they're all picky, right? Another really common challenge I hear. Okay, and let's keep in mind, remember that I said I'm an internally motivated person. So that means it's mostly that internal drive that's going to get me going. So honestly, what it probably means is that I need to build some of that momentum we talked about. And from there, once you build your confidence, naturally that internal motivation will help keep you pushing forward as you build that momentum and gain confidence. We're going to focus on one thing here. So within that I'm too busy challenge, let's focus on specifically the amount of time to exercise. And I like, when I'm setting goals, to go with the path of least resistance. For example, with us, we have lots of simple at-home workout videos, and even beyond the stuff that we offer, those things are all over the internet. You may even have some at home that you've already bought, or maybe you can even start with walking or the treadmill. And going back to walking, I like walking because it requires no equipment and it's that simple. If you're at 0 right now, don't go to 100 and set a goal. Start slowly and build from there. So now we're going to set a SMART goal: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, related to exercising. So the goal we're going to say here: I will go to the park with my kids every Saturday for the next month for 2 hours and play with them on the swing set. 3 other days of the week, I will get 10,000 steps per day, and I will measure this by getting a smartwatch. Those days for me typically will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I will track them because I take my son to baseball practice and I can hang out there for a while and get some extra steps in. Plus, on those other days, I can go for a walk after dinner, and I tend to run my errands on those days, so naturally I'm going to be getting more steps on those days as a whole. Did you see how specific that goal was? That is possibly not like any other goal you've set before. There are so many different layers of planning that will actually help you accomplish that goal as you move forward, right? Essentially what you're doing is you're building accountability for yourself. Accountability that you know, hey, this is what I got to do today. This is what I'm reaching for, and this is how I'm going to do it. And you can focus on 2 weeks, a month. Typically that's a good time frame for one goal. And what we're going to keep doing is adding more and adding more goals on top of that as you move forward and reach those goals. The next layer that we're going to add in here is what I call the ready, willing, and able scale. Now, you see the goal I wrote as an example. You're going to take your goal and ask yourself, on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, am I ready to reach this goal? Same thing, on a scale from 1 to 10, am I willing to reach this goal? Same thing on a scale from 1 to 10. Am I able to reach this goal? Those are 3 different things there. Ready means, are you physically ready to do this right now? Is your schedule conducive for it? What's going to pop up that's going to hold you back from being ready to reach that goal? Willing, you can set a goal that may sound like a great goal, but if you're not willing to actually do that, it's something you don't like to do or don't want to do. In this case, going to the park is easy, going out for a walk is easy, but if you don't like that kind of stuff, then maybe that's not a good goal. So the willingness aspect is something to consider as well. And ability, are you injured? Are you, is it the winter? Are you going to be able to go outside and walk around? All of these kinds of things go into that ability factor. So you want to consider all of that when setting a goal. And if you cannot answer at least a 9 out of 10 on all 3 of those questions, then that means you need to rework that goal in some way. And this is a big mistake that people make when they're setting goals, because they don't consider ready, willing, and able when they're setting a goal. And on the flip side, if something changes in your circumstance, you get injured, you don't go back and readjust based on the ready, willing, and able scale. That's another reason people hold back. So by using a SMART goal, setting shorter time frames related to behaviors instead of outcomes, and by using that ready, willing, and able scale and adjusting as you go on, that is how you create a plan for yourself moving forward. So for me, on that scale, I am 100% 9 out of 10 for all 3 of those: ready, willing, and able to do that. So that's a great goal that I'm going to move forward with. If you're not there, then take a second to pause and think, okay, well, on that goal, what would make me ready, willing, and able to do that? Maybe 3 extra days of walking in addition to the Saturday is too much. So maybe for now you'll focus on 2 days, and that is going to bring you up to at least a 9 out of 10 on all 3 of those. See what I mean? You can adjust from there and go back and forth to think, okay, I am ready, willing, and able to do this. This is what I'm going to start working on right now. Now we have a plan. To keep this video short, I'm going to stop it here, but there are some more examples that I put in on the worksheet, so you can use those examples to continue to guide your thought process as you go through this. And what you're going to want to do going forward, whether it's 2 weeks from now, a month from now, set another goal using this exact process, and you can address a different challenge that you're focusing on and that we covered earlier in this motivation reset. Or you can take the same goal that you just had and make it a little more challenging, dial it up a little bit if you feel ready, willing, and able to do it. That is how you build momentum. That is how you sustain your motivation, by continuing to build your confidence. And of course, understanding your why, how you're motivated, all of that kind of stuff comes into play as we're setting these goals. Thank you so much for joining our motivation reset. We'll have one more video tomorrow to cover, and we'll kind of go over some next steps and that kind of stuff. So I will see you there.